the Bruins have announced that they are extending their general manager, Don Sweeney, for an extra 2 years. And now I finally understand how Nancy Kerrigan felt. It really feels like I just got clubbed in the knees with something, quote, very, very hard. And I'm sitting here crying, saying, why? 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 That was my gut reaction when Don Sweeney got this extension. Because genuinely, why? Why does he get that? What has Don Sweeney proven in the last 2 seasons when he's actually needed to do general manager work that you say, you know what, we want this guy leading our future here? It doesn't make sense. And if you want to pull the Dan Duquette bullshit of, oh, we've got the second most points in the league in the last decade, tell it to somebody who fucking cares, man. Like, we're supposed to be a proud organization in a proud sports town. I don't care how many points you get. I don't care what kind of records you set. Literally the only thing we care about is raising championship banners and playing in finals. That's all we care about. And Don Sweeney has not raised one of those banners. He's had one team go to the final. And I can already hear the people, well, 23 was the players' fault. And yes, absolutely. There are definitely some examples in Don Sweeney's tenure where it's absolutely the players' faults. Definitely not taking away from that. But what has Don Sweeney done exceptionally that people are like, yeah, I want more of him? Is he a good drafter? No chance. Not even close. Not even close to that. Oh, well, they're always picking at the end of the first round. Yes, you picked Fabian Lysel ahead of Wyatt Johnston. Congrats. That's another team that was picking at the end of the first round in Dallas that has a young star in Wyatt Johnston that is now 4 wins away from going to the Stanley Cup final and is in the conference final for the 3rd straight year. Don Sweeney, in his tenure with the Bruins, has overseen 1 conference final in 10 years. But, they got so many points in the regular season. He won the President's Trophy twice. Yeah, how embarrassing is that? And neither of those years did you make it to the conference final. In fact, in the last, 4 years, you have as many playoff round wins as the Leafs do. So, yeah, that's what I'm kind of focused on. He had a good trade deadline this year. You know why? Because he mismanaged this roster so poorly that he had to get rid of his biggest assets. And now that the team that you don't want to root for, the Florida Panthers, are in the conference final, and Brad Marchand plays 1 game, then you'll get a first-round pick out of it. Congrats. You made us watch the worst Bruins hockey in 2 decades, and you made us root for a team we fucking loathe to make the conference finals, but at least you got a first-round pick out of it. Bang up job, Don Sweeney. I like how he handled the trade deadline. They needed to do that. They needed to fire Sale. But it's because of him. That's why. Because he hasn't been able to manage assets. I don't mind going all in on some of these trade deadlines. But the problem isn't with that. The problem isn't even losing the first-round picks through that. You've had enough first-round picks to have a farm system. Instead, it's the worst in all of hockey. Because you draft a guy like Johnny Beecher in the first round, and you say, yeah, we're hoping he's a 4th liner. What kind of mentality is that? That's why it's bad. Not because you've traded away a couple of the first-round picks. It's because you don't know what to do when you get the picks. Maybe in some organizations, it would have been smart to watch some of these guys walk, right? Torrey Krug and Jake DeBrusk. It's these guys, letting them go and letting them walk. Taylor Hall, you had to trade because you signed him to an extension. But then you don't replace them. You don't replace them with anything. You literally didn't replace Jake DeBrusk with anything. You didn't bring in a new winger of any kind of production value. Mark Kastelik, great. 4th line. He gets in a couple of fights. That's the problem with Don Sweeney. He can't draft and he can't replace guys. And this big holdout with Jeremy Swayman and signing him to the 8 by 8.25 after trading your other goalie and letting Swayman hold you over a barrel looks like a massive mistake. because he is dog shit right now for the Bruins and for the U.S. There's not like one thing that Don Sweeney does well. And if there is one thing, it is making a hockey trade at the trade deadline for a contending team. But guess what? You're not going to have a contending team. You're not going to have it for a couple of years here. And one of the main reasons why is because you're committing to 2 more years of Don Sweeney. Like, genuinely, what are they seeing in this guy? What photos does he have of the Jacobs family? Because it's not making any sense. And this is classic Bruins too, because I'll give you the exact reason why they're doing this. There's actually 2 reasons. One of them kind of fell apart on themselves. The timing is weird. May the 20th. It comes a month after their season ends. And 3-4 weeks after that embarrassing end of the year press conference where the team morale has never been lower in this generation. So they waited for the dust to cool off, the dust to settle from that one. And they said, okay, maybe the Bruins fans won't notice now. Of course, the Celtics are out of the playoffs. So yeah, we're noticing. And the second reason, the real reason why they did this, and this is becoming more and more obvious by the week, they are striking out left, right, and center on their coaching search. And there's been reports now that these coaching candidates are really hesitant with the Bruins because they have an uncertain future with their front office, with Don Sweeney and Cam Neely. And they should have that. But now the Bruins are saying, look, we're committing to Don. He'll outlive everybody, but we'll commit to him anyway. 2-year extension. See, he's got a plan. We'll tell people he's got a plan. There's nothing on the ice that proves he has a plan, but we'll say that he has a plan. And now maybe one of these coaches will want to coach here. But if you are like slipping away from Jay Woodcroft because you don't have any stability in the front office, you need to look at your front office and say, what are we doing wrong here? Not, we need to double down on this. But that's clearly it. The Bruins cannot attract a coach right now, even though Don Sweeney says, oh, who wouldn't want to come 100 years of history? There's 2 other coaching jobs that are open that have 99 years of history and have better young cores than we do right now. But who wouldn't want to come here and work for me? I fire everybody. I'm a dick to the media. I can't give less of a shit about the fan base here. Who wouldn't want to come and work for me? The Bruins are 100 years old. Why would anybody want to work for Don Sweeney right now? He's going to outlive them no matter what. Even if you win Coach of the Year, he's going to fire your ass. And he's going to control who goes up to Providence and who doesn't. And possibly who has to sit up on the 9th floor as a healthy scratch. It's ridiculous, man. And it all comes back to the Jacobs family and the Bruins in general just being so incestual. They are so terrified of change and of going outside the family. Because this family thing is really working here. 1 cup in 50 years. And by the way, the GM of that team was outside the family. They did it 1 time, and it worked to rousing success. They had one of their best periods in their entire history when they brought in an outside guy in Peter Chiarelli. He turned them from basement dwellers, basically what we're looking at right now, into a team that literally won the Stanley Cup. And was a force every single year. They made the final twice. And they faced maybe the best team of the 21st century in those 2013 Blackhawks the second time. And took them to 6 games and almost to 7. Jesus. But, 4 years after they won the Cup, they were in cap hell. Which, I don't know. If you look around the league, man, and the teams that win the Cup, that's the price of doing business. Tampa had to let their all-time best player walk in free agency last year because of it. But they got 2 Stanley Cups. Okay? Chicago is in year 8 of a rebuild, but they had 3 cups. They had a dynasty. That's what happens. And the Bruins are sitting here with their thumbs up their fucking ass 10 years ago saying, oh, well, this is what happens when we go outside the family. Now we've got all these no trade clauses. Now we're going to miss the playoffs for 2 years in a row. We're going to bring Don Sweeney in here because he's part of the family. He's Cam Neely's guy. And wow, look at all the success he had in the first couple of years after he took over. They got to a Stanley Cup final. They won a President's Trophy. And oh, wouldn't you know, it's all coming from a core of guys that were brought in by the last guy. Chara and Marchand and Bergeron and Rask and Pasternak and Carlo. They're all from the last guy. And they're literally sitting here thinking they're watching that core completely waste away. They've all gone their separate ways except for Pasternak. He's the only guy from the last regime in there. And wouldn't it be so fitting? He is so far and away, head and shoulders, their best player. And when McAvoy was hurt during the end of the season, there wasn't even anybody close to David Pasternak. It was Pasta and a bunch of minor league guys. And how poetic is it that Pasta is the only guy left who was drafted by Chiarelli? There is nothing that points to Don Sweeney being able to turn this thing around and rebuild. And yet the Bruins are saying 2 more years like that. He has a plan. What is the fucking plan? He had a plan 2 years ago, and it led to them trading all their good players except for Pasternak and McAvoy. Guy who's a team legend, team icon, Hall of Famer, is now playing in the conference final for a team that you hate more than pretty much anyone right now because of your plan, Don. They will never change. They will never change. And you just got to hope at some point that one of these guys in the family, has a couple of fucking brain cells and can run a hockey team. Peter Chiarelli could. And I do admit it was cap hell at the end. And I don't like that they traded Kessel. And I don't like that they traded Sagan. There are some bad moves in there. But with all that told, and all the guys he brought in, and the core they built, and the Stanley Cup banner they friggin' raised, I'll take that over the Don Sweeney tenure any day of the week. I don't know about some of you Bruins fans who are sitting there filleting Don Sweeney, who can't get his shaft out of your goddamn mouths, but I prefer a Stanley Cup banner over the most points in the regular season over the last 10 years. Whatever the fuck that means. I want to see this team playing for Stanley Cups. I don't want to see them just making the playoffs. I've seen that my whole life. I want to see them get past the second round. I want to see them playing in the final. I want to see them raising banners. They're not going to do that with Don Sweeney and whatever his grand fucking plan is. So this is just the Bruins ownership and the Bruins brass just giving you one of these, giving you 2 of these, and spitting in your face. They couldn't give a shit less about the fans. All they care about is if Don Sweeney can get them into one round of the postseason and get that nice little cushy little playoff gate. And the fact that they kept it in the family. Fucking unbelievable. Look at these teams winning the cups now. Florida, using Bruins guys. Sean Thornton, Gregory Campbell. Vegas, Tampa, Colorado. They keeping it in the family. You're just going to become what the Leafs were for decades. Just keeping it in the family. Leafs guys, good English-speaking Canadians. And look what happens. They're going on 60 years without a cup. The one time in the Bruins history they went outside the family, they had one of their greatest eras ever. They won a cup. And then they said, you know what? That's not for us anymore. We don't want any more of that. We want to go back to just kind of being there, just kind of being in the postseason, which they're a far cry from right now in 2025. And we'll just collect our checks. Money fight. It's so bullshit, man. It's so bullshit. This is not new with the Bruins, but it's just another example of why they're going to continue to piss you off and probably continue to suck. Whew. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Was this a stupid move by the Bruins to extend Don Sweeney? Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want them to fire Don Sweeney, because we talk about that a lot here on the show. And let me know why or why not in the comment section below. We're live on YouTube as we are every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then available wherever you get your podcasts. I am Cam Stuart, the host. Zach Burke keeps us on the air. Check out the other videos on the channel, talking Bruins and whatever's going on in Boston sports 5 days a week.